Welcome back to the Unbelievable Podcast, where we take the funniest stories from ancient myths, legends, and sacred texts and retell them to one another. I'm Bert.
And I'm Tamina.
And we're calling this one Worst Wizard Ever. Ready?
As ready as I'll be.
Okay. So there's this prince. He's not the best prince, but he's also not the worst.
That's always how you want to start off a story.
Yeah.
Not the worst.
That's how you want to be told, spoken about, in the future. He wasn't the worst. His father, the king, is loved by everybody, but the prince is kind of known as, lazy, sort of layabout, and he has to prove himself.
Okay.
So one day, the prince is advised that a huge mob of foreign clans are about to invade his territory. The mob has been wandering throughout the neighboring lands, eating people's crops and taking their livestock, beating and killing villagers, taking women and children, and generally causing havoc.
Never a good sign when there's a giant mob coming to your doorstep.
Nobody wants the mob coming for them.
With pitchforks and all.
Well, I mean, it's bigger than that. It's sort of like, thousands and thousands of people who just decided they're leaving wherever they originally lived, and they're just going to sort of wander throughout the land, burning other people's crops down, and eventually they'll find some land they really like and they're going to take it.
So it's a giant army, basically.
Well, it's not army because they're not soldiers. It's like, men, women, children from this clan, but they're just wandering. But there are so many people in the mob that there's not much that can be done about them. The soldiers, the prince's soldiers generally don't like killing civilians, so he can't just send in his army.
All right.
So the prince decides to send his messengers to the 9 greatest wizards in his lands. His hope is that one of the wizards will be able to come up with a magical solution to stop the mob.
Magic to the rescue.
Yeah. And maybe they'll be able to convince the mob to, take another route that doesn't go through his lands, or stop where they are and settle there, something.
Basically, the prince actually doesn't want to do anything himself, so he's just going to try to hire somebody to do magic.
Yeah.
I'm starting to understand the not the best, but not the worst part.
Yeah. So, he doesn't want to take action. He's just going to hire, the best guy he can find to do it for him. One of his scribes, when they're sort of writing out his request for these wizards, accidentally makes a 10th copy of the proclamation. Mm-hmm. So his advisors decide they're going to send a message to the 10th most powerful wizard in his lands as well.
Okay.
So the messengers head out to the towers of all the wizards, carrying copies of the prince's offer.
Okay. One more than intended.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that's going to be very important to the story.
That's going to be extremely important. The offer is, gems, gold, to anybody who can turn the mob away from the prince's lands.
So anybody who can do the prince's job for him.
Anybody who can do my job will get a handsome reward.
But not my throne.
But not my job, yeah.
Sounds familiar, generally.
Yeah. He's a manager. He's a good manager. So a month later, the messengers have been to see wizards 1 through 9 with no success. Each of the 9 wizards said that they couldn't help either. They didn't have the power to do anything about the mob, or they wanted more money or more rewards to help the prince out.
I mean, I get it. They're doing the princess job. Mm-hmm. I would request the throne, but...
Yeah. So reluctantly, the messengers decide to head to the house of the 10th wizard. Mm-hmm. So the 10th wizard is known as a bit of a bumbling fool. In wizarding circles, he's a laughingstock.
Okay.
Some people don't even believe that he's an actual wizard.
All right. Explains why he wasn't initially included.
Yeah. There's like a pretty steep drop off respect-wise from, 9 to 10.
So apparently there's like 9 good wizards, and then everybody is just at the bottom.
9 wizards and this guy.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't even have a wizard's tower. He lives in a shack by the river.
All right. Now I'm imagining a homeless wizard.
Yeah, he's just a homeless guy in a shack, but he has a big beard, so people think he's a wizard.
All right. Sounds good.
And even his name is silly. His name is just Blam.
Yeah, I can't say that name installs any sort of confidence in his magical capabilities.
Yeah, just Blam. Not like Blam the Wise or Blam the Grey, just Blam.
I think you can't combine Blam with really anything. The only thing I can think of is like Blam the Clown. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But I don't think I'd hire anybody who's called Blam the Wise. I'd be like, you need to be wise enough to change that name, man.
How wise could you really be named Blam? Mm-hmm. So they make it to the wizard's shack, and he's nowhere to be seen.
Okay.
All they see is a donkey that looks like it's seen better days. Some leather that's midway through tanning, some empty buckets of water and feed for the donkey.
Okay.
And the shack itself is falling apart. It leans to one side as though it's ready to fall over, and every time there's a breeze, it starts to sway a little bit.
Okay.
Not a good shack. So not only is it not a wizard's tower, but it's not even a nice shack.
Okay, so he doesn't have a good name, and he doesn't have even a proper shack. And now I'm also imagining a really old donkey that's just like on the brink of maybe death.
Yeah. So this donkey has served for a long time. This is like a tired old donkey. It's not one of those new, I'm young and full of, piss and vinegar donkeys.
I mean,
it's an
I don't
old
know
donkey.
that even young donkeys are that
Well, yeah. Also,
energetic. Generally, donkeys tend to be a little slow, but I get your point.
Yeah. Also, it's not a horse, right? Like,
it's a donkey. A donkey is a donkey,
So the messengers make their way to the shack and they knock on the door. They start to unroll the scroll, and just as they're about to start reading the prince's proclamation, they hear a voice from inside, and it just says, "Can't help, not allowed, sorry, good luck." And so the messengers are confused. They reply, can't help with what? The voice from inside responds, wandering mob, eating up crops, raising villages, yada, yada, yada. I checked, not allowed to help. Sorry, maybe next time. You're welcome to stay the night, though.
That's impressive. I have to say, Blam, here you go. Maybe I was wrong this whole time.
Yeah, people underestimate Blam, maybe.
Maybe it's the name.
Yeah, maybe it's the name, or the donkey,
or the shack.
So the messengers have been traveling for a long time. They decide to take up Blam on his offer of spending the night. They set up camp around the shack, and eventually the wizard comes out and they share dinner. While they're talking, one of the messengers asks the wizard how he knew that what they were going to ask. And the wizard responds, "Oh, that. My God told me weeks ago that you guys were on your way and that by no means could I help you guys with the mob. Not sure why."
Okay.
So the messengers are pretty impressed. They spend the night, they wake up the next morning, and they go back to the prince. Mm-hmm. So when they get back to the prince, they tell him, we saw 10 of the wizards. None of them can help, but the 10th one was actually pretty impressive. He could tell the future. He knew we were coming, and he knew what we were going to ask for even before we got there.
Okay.
And the prince, he's really impressed by this. He's like, maybe this guy is the guy for me.
Yeah.
And, knowing that he's, the worst wizard in the lands, maybe he's thinking maybe he can get a discount if he can convince this guy to help. So
I mean, I don't know. The guy said that his god told him that he shouldn't help. So
yeah. Again, the prince, he's not the best prince. This wizard's not the best wizard. Maybe it's a match.
Yeah, maybe not the best, not the worst. Maybe they can go together.
There you go. So he says you can offer a little bit more gold, a little bit more land, and maybe a title. And so he sends them back to the wizard. Messengers make it back to Blam's shack. There's the same donkey outside, the same rickety old shack. Place is a mess. They approach the door to knock. And right before they're about to knock on the door, they hear a voice say, "Hey guys, welcome back. Still not allowed to help, sorry. My god says, not for all the gold in the prince's palace can I help you guys."
Okay.
He says, it's a very generous offer though. You're welcome to stay for dinner. So the messengers stay for dinner again. And just as they're about to leave the next morning, the wizard runs out of the shack. "Wait! You'll never believe what just happened. My god said I can come." So the messengers respond like, "So your god's going to let you help the prince?" And Blam says, "Well, maybe."
Okay, that changed. Not what you said a minute ago.
Well, he says, "My god says I can come with you guys, but I can only do exactly what he tells me to do. It's better than nothing. But he can't promise that he's actually going to help once he gets back to the prince's palace."
I mean, if I was these soldiers, I don't know that I would trust this guy. I mean, his god seems a little bit flaky. If I was him, I would go back to my prince and tell him what he said before saying, yeah, he'll come. But he'll only do whatever his god tells him to do, which might be not what the prince wants.
Not what the prince actually wants him to do.
I mean, it's interesting, but I'm guessing the prince isn't very good at doing his job, so he's gonna take up the wizard on this offer.
Yeah, and I mean, at this point, the prince doesn't have any other offers. This is the best he's gotten out of the 10
so I
most
guess like
powerful
beggars
wizards.
can't be choosers type scenario.
Exactly.
Got it.
So they head off with Blam back to the prince's palace. The wizard, Blam, gathers his supplies for the trip. He's got scrolls and staffs and pouches, powders, flint and tinder, and some books.
Magic stuff.
Magic, wizard stuff, you know?
Yeah.
He straps his packs to his donkey and they head off. About 15 minutes into their journey to the prince's palace, they're riding along a dirt trail. There's a vineyard off to one side and a stone wall to the other.
Okay.
All of a sudden, the wizard's donkey starts to veer off the trail into the vineyard.
Maybe the donkey's finally had it. He's like, I'm done with this. I'm
Yeah.
retiring. I need to go drink some wine.
Yeah, the
and
donkey's
just be done.
donkey's shutting it down. He's retiring. That's it. You know, gonna cash in his RSPs. So the wizard, he's struggling with the donkey's reins, and he says, "Where are you going, you stupid donkey? Stay on the path." The wizard reaches back and he starts to, beat the donkey. He's like slapping its hind with his hand and trying to get it back on the road.
Poor donkey. Now I understand why he wanted to go to the vineyard
There you
in
go.
the first place.
That's why he wants to retire. He has an abusive boss. So he gets the donkey back on the path, and they start walking the path again. But about 2 minutes later, the donkey veers off in the other direction.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It
He just
wa-
got beat
Yeah.
for no reason.
There you go. It's vengeance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Poor old donkey.
the donkey walks toward the wall this time, and he pinches the wizard's leg between the wall and the donkey's sides. Mm-hmm. Wizard yells out in pain, "Ouch! Damn it, donkey! What's your problem?" Beats the donkey again to get it back on the path.
Yeah, I'm starting to not like this wizard guy. Poor donkey. I'm team donkey.
Well, you don't know what the standards of the time are as far as treatment of donkeys. Maybe this is what everybody does.
Yeah, maybe. I'm sure it is. Like, historically, we've generally not been very good at treating each other, so I feel like donkeys are lower on that list.
Yeah.
But still, I am going to be biased and look at it from modern day perspective and be super judgy about it.
Fair. So he beats the donkey again to get it back on the path. They start walking again, and a minute later, the donkey just lies down and it won't move.
Which is what I would do.
Yeah.
Strike.
Right, strike, yeah. So the wizard saw it coming, and he starts beating the donkey, as it's going down to lie down.
See, not a fan of this wizard.
Yeah, so he's like, "Donkey, what's your problem? You're making me look like an idiot in front of the prince's messengers." And the messengers are off to the side. They're sort of watching all this happen. And suddenly they hear, "Now, see here. You best stop beating on me, Blam. That's 3 times you hit me for no good reason. I know you're just showing off for the prince's messengers, but I had enough, I say."
So now we have a talking donkey.
Talking donkey.
It's very reminiscent of Shrek.
Or is Shrek very reminiscent of it?
Look at you.
Dun,
Dun, dun,
dun,
dun.
So messengers, they're watching all this. They're amazed. Talking donkey. And so sassy. Mm-hmm. So Blam asks, "Why do you keep stopping, donkey?" And the donkey replies, "Look up the road, you blind fool." So Blam looks up the road and he sees a 15-foot tall angel made up of stone blocking the path. The angel's holding a sword of pure flame in its hands, and its eyes are ablaze with fire.
And they needed a donkey to tell them that there was a 15-foot
Right.
angel with a giant flaming sword down the road.
How do you not notice the 15-foot tall granite angel with a flaming sword and eyes of fire?
You'd think that at least one of the messengers, whose job it is to take messages from the prince to places, would realize that there's something blocking their path, and that something is a 15-foot giant stone angel with the flaming sword. I mean, I'm guessing that that's not an everyday occurrence where the next village over is just these 15 feet angels.
Who's in the next town? Oh, the angels, the 15-foot tall angels with their flaming swords.
Yeah, in
They're
that
okay.
situation, I mean, get the angel to deal with the mob. A flaming sword will get the job done and not have to deal with a wizard who's physically abusive to his poor donkey, who's clearly elderly.
No, the angels, their union contract doesn't allow for it. It's not in their job duties. Mob control, I guess.
A very strong union.
Yeah, very powerful union. Back in those days, unions ran everything. So, shocked, the wizard falls off his donkey onto the ground. And he's sort of lying down on the ground. He looks up at this angel. The angel walks up and he's just like, "Sup, Blam?" And that's how the wizard is Shaq. He sounds like Shaq. "Blam, what's up?" Says, yeah.
Now I'm imagining Shaq's head on a stone soldier with a giant sword.
That's generally how I imagine angels.
If this becomes
Shaq
a movie,
with swords.
then we'll have to cast Shaq as the angel.
I don't think so. I saw Kazam. I don't think Shaq ever gets acting jobs again.
Oh, God.
So he says, "Sup, Blam? Why you keep beating that poor donkey?" He's just Shaq now. I'm going to just do it as Shaq.
I could hear it, yes.
"I've been sent by God to block your path. If not for the donkey, I would have killed you and these messengers by now." So Blam is confused, as the reader of the story would be, no doubt. He's like, "Sorry, I didn't see you there, but God told me I could go like a couple minutes ago. Am I supposed to go back home?" Angel pauses. He sort of looks up into the sky. Done looking up into the sky, and he's like, "Apparently not. Go to the prince, but do only what I tell you, or else." And he makes a sort of like a neck cutting sort of gesture with his hand.
All right. I'm telling you, this god is sounding flakier by the second.
I mean, again,
Poor management. Very poor management.
I suppose. Again, I don't know what gods were like back then, but maybe this was just the management style of the times.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's a waste of resources to have giant stone angels going around, potentially murdering random people on the road and not having sent the proper instructions, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I mean, communication is key. And, if you're not communicating with your angels and your wizards, then you could have some problems.
I mean, you could definitely have problems when you're a god, yes.
So Angel sort of looks at his sword and then looks at Blam and then looks at his sword again, just to sort of hammer home, if you don't do what I tell you, you're gonna get some sword.
Yeah. Not the most subtle.
Yeah. And then he disappears. Okay. He's sort of fading into transparency. But as he's fading away, he sort of whispers at Blam. He's like, "I'm always right behind you."
Poor Blam.
Yeah, poor Blam. And
my God, I have apparently my loyalties are not very strong. I was team donkey a few seconds ago.
Yeah, you're all over the place.
I'm all over the place, and now I'm team Blam.
Now you're team Blam.
I just don't like bullies, and now Blam is being bullied by the angels.
He was bullying the donkey 2 seconds ago. You forgot about that?
Yes, but I'm still team donkey, but second team is team Blam.
Okay. So when the chips are down, team donkey.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay. So join us next time for part 2 of The Worst Wizard. Thanks for listening to the Unbelievable podcast. We hope you had as good a time as we did. If so, subscribe. We release new episodes every week. We're on YouTube, Spotify, and all major podcast apps. If you have comments or feedback, you can email us at theunbelievablecast@gmail.com. That's theunbelievablecast@gmail.com. All one word. Thanks.